Should federal government retirees do Roth conversions? So I deal with a lot of federal government retirees. Oh, they don't earn it. They're just lazy. And it's just, dude, I just hate that. I hate jealous people. I can't believe it. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, these guys bust their ass, man. Just give me a break. Are there some scumbags in the federal government? Yes. Are there some scumbags in your freaking corporate gig? Of course. Just stop being jealous. It's actually not a good look. I can't believe the pensions they get. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, trash up the wall. Anyway, so federal government employees, I deal with a lot of LEOs, law enforcement officers. My man Chris Barfield, for some reason, takes to me. So some people he'll say, you might want, he doesn't say me explicitly, but he says, hey, and, I don't know. I'm friends with Chris on LinkedIn. I consider Chris Barfield a friend and good guy. So anyway, we travel the same groups and whatnot. Now, I'm not a Leo. I don't want to be. I'm a nice guy. I don't want to be busting people. But anyway, I dealt with a lot of federal FBI. I didn't have a lady from the FDIC. Crushed, legend. And the idea that she's working 40 hours a week is just so stupid. She was busting her ass. Anyway, so long story short, I was working this guy today, a single guy. He's divorced. We'll call him Brian. All right, Brian, after Brian Johnson from AC/DC. I'm on a highway to hell. Did Brian Johnson sing that song? No, he did not. That's Bon Scott. We're still calling him Brian Johnson. All right. So Brian Johnson, he's like, dude, should I do Roth conversions? And he's got a nice pension, all right, about $80,000 a year. Oh, I can't believe that. Oh my goodness. He's got a nice pension, about $80,000 a year. He's single. And we were talking Roth conversions. And now he's going to take Social Security at 62 because he's single, and most likely he's not going to get remarried. He could, I don't know. But generally speaking, Social Security at 62 for most single guys. He doesn't need his portfolio to. His portfolio is a nice. He needs a little bit of his portfolio, but not much. And so it's like, why not take Social Security? It doesn't. I mean, literally, why not? Anyway, point being is we're looking at his tax stuff. And the nice thing about the right capital I use is not only do you get a 1040 they can look at, which is freaking awesome, but you get the tax analyzer or the tax strategy. It's lots of different tax things. And you see the effective tax rate, and it jumps up. So basically, effective tax rate between the state and feds is roughly about 18%. And then it jumps up to about 21% when he's 75. That's because RMDs. But it's just flat until he's 75. It jumps up and it's flat until he's dead. All right, and so basically, he's paying basically for every dollar he gets, he's paying about 18 cents on a dollar. So he's keeping 82 cents until he's 75, and he's keeping 78 cents. And it's not a bad place to be. And that includes when RMDs kick in, and he's really not going to have to tap into his portfolio at all. So we're talking hundreds, a lot of money, man, coming down pike from his pension, Social Security, and his RMDs. I'm spitting everywhere. Pension, Social Security, RMDs. Anyway, so my man, he's like, should I do Roth conversions? And I'm looking at it, and I'm showing him the 1040, not the 1040, but the tax, the 10 to 12, 22%, whatnot. I say, you see where you are right here, Brian Johnson? And he goes, yeah. I said, you're basically halfway in the 12% tax bracket. All right, so you're not at the 22%. You're halfway up the 12% tax bracket. When you hit RMDs. All right, when the RMDs kick in, you're going to be right at the top of the 12% tax bracket. I mean, literally, you're riding this line, dude. You're riding the lightning, right at the top of that 12% tax bracket. So if we do Roth conversions now, to the extent that it puts you at the top of the 12% tax bracket, what does that mean? Well, that means, and when you're 75, you'll be halfway between the 12 and 22% where you are today. Why, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if I want to leave my money to my kids, all right, the kids are going to they still have to exhaust that account within 10 years. What if I want to, I don't know, whatever, leave it to my, what if I want to do this, that, and the other? There's really no reason at all. Don't pay more taxes today to pay less in the future. And I was showing them, it's like a seesaw. We can level the seesaw, but we don't want to so if the seesaw is up on the left-hand side and down on the right, we don't want to now make it down on the left-hand side and up on the right. That doesn't make any sense. And that's where a lot of the federal retirees I deal with, the military retirees as well, because their pensions are big enough that it basically puts them knee-deep already in the 12% tax bracket. And there's a little bit of wiggle room before they hit the 22% tax bracket, but not that much. And so if they hit the 22% tax bracket to avoid paying a high 12% tax bracket, that doesn't make, in the future, that doesn't make any sense. If they hit the full extent of the 12% tax bracket to have a lower 12% tax bracket in the future, that doesn't make any sense. It's that pension that really hurt. And I say hurt, I mean, it's a good thing to have, but it's that pension that says, man, it makes Roth conversions hard for a guy or a lady or a couple because they're already going to be knee deep in the 12% tax bracket. And where Roth conversions benefit, especially when it comes to widow's tax trap, is that if you have big RMDs so in the future you go from basically a 10% tax bracket to 22% tax bracket because the RMDs kick in, and then you die and your wife goes to a 28% tax bracket. Or even go to 12 to 22 to 28 or something like that. That's where the Roth conversion strategy really comes in. If you're already in a 12% tax bracket, knee deep in that, it's just, there's really no need to it at all. Unless in the future you're going to 22%, even at 24 to 28, whatever the tax rates are. It's hard to make that argument. So the vast majority of federal employees I talk to, and military employees, I said, I just don't see the benefit. And they're always like, what, really? I thought you were the Roth guy. And I am. I wrote a book on it. But if the benefit ain't there, it ain't there, man. So he said, should I even do more Roth? I said, I don't think so. I think what you should do is put your brokerage account in VTI and let that sucker just grow like a weed. Why? Because VTI, when you die, the whole thing will transfer tax-free with a step-up basis. And you pay very limited tax. You know, you're going to pay a little bit of dividend tax, but there's not much dividends for VTI, and there's no capital gain tax either. All right, because VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Index ETF, has no capital gains it distributes. So basically, the only thing that's really happening is you got a minimal amount of taxes you pay while you own it. It's liquid, i.e. you have access to it. I mean, you have access to your Roth too, don't get me wrong. But, you know, at the end of the day, your kids, they don't have a 10-year time frame. They can, I mean, the problem about the Roth is that they still got a 10-year time frame. And you can make the argument that VTI, when they inherit that, it doesn't have any time frame. It's true, but then again, they can spend it. There's a lot of things going on. I just like a brokerage account with VTI. I think it works like a charm. All right, man, go eat some pizza. God bless. We'll see you. Love your thoughts.